Hi there, welcome to Northern Gardener. Today we're going to show you how to start herbs from seed and transplant some herbs out, and we'll also do some harvesting. What we use for our seeding is Sungrow. It's a #1 mix. It's a mix of perlite, peat moss. We'll fill up our containers. This is a sterilized mix. So when you start in seeds, you kind of want a sterilized mix so that the seeds don't damp off. Because usually they're in most potting soil, there'll be like fungus and stuff that will affect your little seedlings as they come out of the ground. It's called damping off. By using a sterilized mix, we're ready to go. Using sterilized mix, usually you avoid damping off on your little seedlings as they come up. And we'll go into the other room and start some planting. Okay, when you're seeding a tray, you never want to seed into dry soil. So I always wet it down very well. Because the mix is very dry, it takes a few times so that it'll soak in. And that's where we'll put our seeds in. With the different herbs, as you can see, there's different, we got tarragon, chives, sweet marjoram, basil. Each herb, some of the seeds for like say thyme and rosemary, the seed's very, very fine, so it'll sit on the top of the soil. For like basil, the seed's a little coarser. So you need to go about 1/8 of an inch deep. So what I do for basil, I'll always make a little bit of a dent. Basil, I like to plant it in clumps so that you have 5 to 10 plants in each one. So I'll just go a little like that. Cover these up. Needs about 80 degrees to germinate. We'll use a water can with a finer breaker on it so that the water doesn't wash your seed out, especially with, say, mint and oregano. This way you know your soil's completely saturated and it'll have enough moisture for the seed to germinate. This seed bed here has heating coils in the bottom. If you look at it here, see the heating coils? It was heating coils from like that run along a roof. You can buy it at Canadian Tire. Put it in, we cover it with sand so that we have a thermostat that's set at 80 degrees. So this has bottom heat where the heat comes up through the soil. So the temperature of the soil is perfect for germination. Different seeds require like mint, oregano, thyme, those smaller seeds. Because they're a perennial herb, that's an annual. Because they're a perennial herb, they need a little bit cooler, so usually you do 70 degrees, which would be just room temperature. Always label your flats so that you know what you put in and what date you put it in. That way you got your temperature set at 80 degrees. And in 2 weeks, this is basil that's 2 weeks old. It was planted 2 weeks ago, and look how nice it is. Once you have your seedlings up, here we go. This was basil. Here's thyme seedlings. So you can see the size of it. It's ready to go from the packs that I started it in into a bigger 4-inch pot. This 4-inch pot will be good until we put it out in, usually it'll be May. We'll make an indent in here, pop it in, and there you go. You have your root ball. Usually within, say, a month or so, this will be big enough that you will actually be able to cut some from it and use it. Watch where you put it or else it can spread. I put in 1 row of oregano years and years ago. It is now like a 1/4 acre. It chokes everything out. Because it can propagate from roots and seeds, it's just an aggressive plant. So usually I keep it in a pot, especially for like home use. or else you'll have it all over the place. It'd choke out your lawn. Here we have rosemary. Usually it starts from seed, but it's a little slow growing. I would think most households would need more than like one oregano plant, maybe 2 thyme, basil maybe a little more, and like something rosemary was not used very much. It just 1 plant's lots because it can get a fair size. Okay, this one's thyme. This was started last year, so it's a year-old plant. But this has been cut off all, but it just grows up very aggressive. There's rosemary. That's a year-old plant. It's been cut off too. This one will winter outside, hardy perennial. This one a little less hardy. This one usually has to be brought in a pot. Sault Ste. Marie, it doesn't always make it through the winter. Other herbs that you can grow over the winter would be ginger and turmeric. I grabbed 2 ones that are organic. Hopefully they haven't been sprayed with anything so that you get they're more likely to grow. You would want to look for ginger. It doesn't have to be organic ginger. If you look and you start seeing points that are wanting to grow, see a little on the green side, you could probably cut this into 2 pieces and you'd get 2 plants. But for here, we'll just pop this in. Put her in. You want to sink it in, not too deep. The ginger actually doesn't grow very deep in the pot. It actually grows along the surface of soil. I'll just put a thin cover over it, like that. I'll label it. So average 80 degrees. So if you have a near heat red or a window which gets sun, a warm window, that's perfect for that. Put it in there, and usually takes only maybe 2 weeks for it to start to show through. Here's ginger. I started some, just put it in the seed bed, cut it up, and you can see it starting to poke through now. There's a nice healthy ginger seedling. It was be about 3 weeks old. Look at the size of that. This will take approximately 7 to 9 months in order to get to a harvestable size. I did some outside, and so this is Sault Ste. Marie. Fairly well this year because we had a nice warm summer, and doesn't like too much sun, doesn't like the direct sunlight. In the winter greenhouse it seems fine, doesn't turn. If you put it outside in the like hot sun, it'll bake it, Dig it down a little wee bit, you see this forming a new bulb. Nice white color. This is a plant, this was probably put in last spring. So this is a year old. There's a small pot and it's kind of been ignored. You break the tops off. The top of the ginger actually smells nice, but I don't believe it's edible. Here we have some turmeric. This is like the superfood this year, I guess. It's lots of health benefits. It's supposed to be anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer. I grew quite a bit last season, and the demand for it was amazing at the market. They grind it up, cook with it. What you want to look for when you're buying it, if you're going to try to plant it, you want to look for the nodes growing on the side. You want usually 2 to 3 nodes on each piece that you plant. So this, I should be able to get 10 plants out of that. There we go. That will go. Usually I would put this in a 4-inch pot, just to start it out to get it to grow. As you can see, right like that. So there's a nice healthy turmeric seedling. That's about a month old. I put the growing points up, about a 1/2 inch deep. A seedling like this size, it's a beautiful plant. It looks like a canna lily. It gets about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. So it's actually a beautiful plant. It's 80-degree temperature. Put it in there, and we'll be good to go. It usually takes about a month to come up, and quite fast growing once it does. I'm going to pull it out and see what we got here. This guy I'm going to use to plant my own, for my own seedlings, ready to take off. So that was from one little piece of root. Some of it's too immature to grow, but if I cut it off, these will each go in a pot, and we'll be able to produce a new plant from each one of those too. Produced from one little piece like that. Temperature of this greenhouse is in the 60s as a high and about 55 degrees for a low temperature. This is another herb. This is wasabi. They also call it Japanese horseradish. They use it on lots of different dishes. It kind of cleans the palate. It has kind of a real hot heat. It takes approximately 2 to 3 years to get wasabi. Usually you want the long stem on it. And you can see this one's still only maybe 1 inch long. So it has a long ways to grow. It has at least another season before it's ready for harvest. Requires a cool temperature, low light, which winter light in Sault Ste. Marie is very low. When we harvest this guy, if you look down in there, we'll see all sorts of shoots. Those become your new plants that you will use to grow out. You'll pick it off, it'll have a little bit of roots left on it, and you grow those as your starts. Okay, on a wasabi plant, as the leaves mature, they die off, but you can also eat the leaves, and you can eat the stalk of the leaves. And fairly warm, but less milder than the rhizome will be when it's harvested. But the whole plant's edible, including the flowers. Well, thank you for watching, and there's a few hints for you to learn how to grow herbs at home. Kind of interesting to do over the winter. Gives you something out of the snow.